Hello children, Adam here to talk to you about Acing the Impromptu presentation, which is one of the minor presentations that you're going to be giving over the next 4 to 6 weeks in lab with Robert. Get excited. Here's how the impromptu presentation works. Next week, you're going to turn in 3 topics to us via Scholar, and there's some prompts. One of them is like, what is a club that you're in? Another one may be a hobby. Another one may be about your particular major. So they're all in the wheelhouse of ag and life sciences. But what you don't know is which one we're going to pick. And so Robert, with his own diabolical sense of humor, is going to pick one that he wants to hear about the most. And then on your day that you're slated to give your impromptu presentation, surprise you with which one he wants to hear about. Now, this is not us being cruel to you. This is just how impromptu presentations work. They're supposed to be off the cuff, surprise, and you need to be prepared. Now, I will tell you from the 5 semesters that I've spent as a lab instructor for this class that the impromptu presentations are usually the ones that people do the absolute worst on. And I don't know why. Every semester I tell them, like, this is a thing. And I think that people think because it's supposed to be off the cuff and they're just supposed to stand up and, talk about something off the cuff, that it's supposed to come out naturally like that. But take it from our good friend Mark Twain here, who says, it usually takes me more than 3 weeks to prepare a good impromptu speech. If it takes Mark Twain 3 weeks, it's going to take you a little longer. So I would say go ahead and start crafting your impromptu speeches now in your head so that whenever you get called on, you have them all prepared. And no matter which one it is, you'll give a good talk. Now, just as a side note, you're not allowed to carry note cards for this speech. It's an impromptu speech. You're not supposed to know it's coming. So you can't be like, oh man, here are these note cards that I carry around in my pocket all the time in hopes that someone will ask me about X. No. All right. So let's move on. What is an impromptu presentation? In this case, it's not just a diabolical way for us to torture you in class without, you knowing what's going to happen. It's probably the type of presentation that you're going to give most in life. So imagine you're at a club meeting, or later on in life you're at like a board meeting, or just say that somebody asks you to explain something to a group of people, and they might say, Adam, tell us about your trip to the Association of Leadership Educators conference, at the staff meeting. And I have to come up with something off the top of my head. And a lot of times when people are asked that, they just ramble and it makes no sense. And they kind of sum up and they're like, great, thanks. And then they sit back down and we're all like, what did we just hear? So the impromptu presentation format that we're going to give you today is to hopefully prevent that in your speeches in the lab and then in the rest of life, so that when somebody calls on you and says, hey, can you tell us about this trip that you went on, or could you tell us a little more about this topic that we don't know very much about, you'll be able to do it in a way that's structured and organized, and it'll make you feel more calm because you have a system. Okay, that was a lot for me to throw at you. All right, let's talk about what this system is. Step 1 in an impromptu presentation, begin with a positive thank you. Thanks, Robert, for allowing me to speak here today. Move to the front of the room, acknowledge the speaker, just like I just did. Pause for a moment to collect yourself, and then paraphrase or restate the question. So, for example, if Robert called on you to talk about Forestry Club, you'd come to the front of the room, you'd say, thanks, Robert, for allowing me to talk about the Forestry Club. And that sort of rephrases everything and sets us up, and it makes you look like a nice person. And then hopefully you pause and relax. All right. Step 2, choose 1 to 3 positive, points about whatever it is that you want to talk about. And this is to help you not ramble. Stick to 3 main topics. And it's best if you tell them right up front. Thanks for calling me up to talk about Forestry Club, Robert. I'd like to talk to you guys today about Forestry Club activities, Forestry Club, trips, and how to join Forestry Club. Boom, 3 positive points right there. And then you work through each one of them, providing more facts, possibly anecdotes, possibly little stories, and think about, what message do I want to send? What's going to be important to the audience? So 3 points, work through them, provide supporting details for each. I got ahead of myself. Step number 3, support your main points with facts, data, and examples. It adds clarity. This is why I always try to give examples. I wasn't like, just step 3, do this. I try to give you a fun story about the Forestry Club. So anyway, Know the sources of your information, and if you don't know, then say so. It's okay to admit something if you're not really entirely sure about it. That's okay. Better than trying to lie your way through it, because we can tell. All right. And then finally, offer a brief summary or closing. Sometimes it's good to use a quote. You don't have to, because sometimes that's cheesy. More often than not, what you'll do is you'll end up actually stressing the importance of something, if it's trying to get people to be persuaded to do something. And then it's always a good idea to thank them again for the opportunity to speak. So what are those steps again? Let's go over. All right, so you come up, you say, thank you for allowing me to speak here today about X. And then you give 1 to 3 points about X, and then you go through each one of those and you support it with, more facts, data, stories, anecdotes, examples, whatever you want to call it. And then at the end, you just sum it up. You say, I'm glad I got to tell you about, points 1, 2, and 3 today about the Forester Club. Come on out and join the Forester Club. Maybe that's how you end. I don't know. Are you guys going to join the Forester Club? Who knows? Now, I want to show you something just so you can show. Oh, also, all great speakers were bad speakers at first, says Ralph Waldo Emerson, who is ironically a writer. I want to show you, this is the impromptu presentation grading thing. This is what Robert's going to be sitting there grading you on. And there are no surprises here. Like, look at this. There's a checklist. He'll be like, did they pause at the front of the room prior to speaking? Did they extend a thank you? Did they immediately obtain the audience's attention? Did they introduce 1 to 3 points? Look at this. Step 2. Did we emphasize the main 3 points? Did we clearly communicate? Blah, 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 blah. And then at the end, did we summarize? That's the organization of the talk. And then this is on the actual presentation where the words are articulated clearly. Did we not use a monotone? Did we make eye contact, use gestures, avoid nervous behaviors, all these things. So there's no surprises here on how you're going to be graded. I had one kid one time that thought that because it was an impromptu talk, he wasn't supposed to prepare for it. I was like, it's not a surprise talk. Like, it's not an extemporaneous talk. You do at least know what you're going to talk about. You're going to get 1 of the 3 things that you identified. We're not going to hit you with anything that's out of the blue. So make sure that you got prepared talks ready to go. So thanks again for listening. Hopefully that clears some things up and will help you do a good job with your impromptu presentation. Thanks for listening.